Maysplaining. What is a good reliever? This story today is my baby. I got to be very clear about that. I've been working on this for a while. I worked on it actually when I was playing. So this is a culmination of a project that I've been working on for a couple of years now. I am fascinated with how relievers are valued. What is a good reliever? Not just closers. Are closers truly the best relievers? And how we value pitchers now, and we talked about this in our What the F is WAR segment a couple weeks ago. WAR sucks for pitchers. It's based on FIP. FIP is not great for relievers because the sample size is too small. WAR is not a good indicator for whether or not a reliever is good or not. For example, Emmanuel Clase had a 4.4 WAR last year. Cade Smith had a 2.4 WAR last year. But if you go look at a bunch of other statistics, they're way closer. Arguably, Cade was more valuable overall. Even though Emmanuel Clase had the most incredible year of a reliever in a long time, he also inherited 0 runners. Like, he was put in positions to be successful in a way that Cade Smith wasn't. So, like, that's the type of stuff that I am fascinated with, and that's the type of stuff we're going to talk about today. Basically, I have written here on my notes, evaluating relievers sucks. It does. It does. And relievers are my people, so I wanted to come up with a way to evaluate them and then rank them to give them a little bit more love. And so today is Maysplaining. What is a good reliever? My top 20 relievers based on my new statistic that I invented. So I hope you're ready for this. And I have my top 20 relievers based on, basically, this is the score they were given from last year. So we're going to go by their performance last year. It's both predictive and results based. And it'll make sense as we go. Just trust me. We call it Reliever Plus. For those of you that don't know, a plus stat is normalized to be 100 is average. So above 100 is above average for the league. The very middle, like average player, the guy in the middle is 100 flat, and then everyone below is going to be below average. It's just easy to digest in that way. ERA plus is one that people use a lot, OPS plus. It's a way to compare yourself to the league. So if you're going to have a leaderboard, it's easy to understand. And so that's what I usually do for statistics that I make up. Now, I had to research data science and stuff for this. I have a Excel spreadsheet where I actually had to write in equations. So let me explain to you what's in this statistic in a fun and frivolous way. Here's the metrics that I care about. And shout out to Eno Saris and Derek Van Riper on Rates and Barrels pod. We talked about this the other day, and I've been throwing them text messages, like, guys, I think I figured it out. So here's the 4 that I care about. That is leverage index. Leverage index is essentially the measure of how critical a particular situation is based on the win expectancy changes from their performance. Basically, leverage index tells you through the entire time you were in the game, how much did you affect the win probability of your team? So if you're constantly never in leverage, you'll have a low leverage index. If you have a really high index, for example, a guy who has an incredibly high one was Tyler Kinley, but he was a little bit of an outlier because he had like a 6 ERA last year. But he had the highest leverage index in the league by like a lot because he was constantly throwing with the bases loaded and stuff. Like you're being put into situations where it's almost impossible to give up no runs. That's what leverage index basically means. Then there's clutch. So clutch is a normalized stat also, but it's comparative to yourself. So a 0 clutch would be if you're being put in clutch situations, you are performing exactly the same as if you weren't in clutch. That's a 0. If it's negative, that means in leverage situations where it gets dicey, you underperform how you normally perform. If it's a high number, then you tend to pitch better in those situations than before. And you can imagine how that would be valuable. WPA is win probability added. I mentioned that in leverage index. This isn't all of them. Basically, it's a number of wins. So every outing you go out, every out you get, the probability of winning the game changes, and you get like credit. It's like you're getting points. When the probability goes down, when you give up a homer and tie the game, then your team's probability goes down, you get negative points. And then what it does, it takes all your negative and all your positive for the year, and then you get a number. And then shutdowns and meltdowns. It's a stat on Fangraphs that basically says, did you add 0.06 wins or did you remove 0.06 wins? A meltdown is when you win in, if the win probability added goes down 0.06, that's a meltdown. If it goes above 0.06, it's a shutdown. If it stays in the middle, it's nothing. So it's basically an alternative hold save stat, which I love. So it's like a ratio. You get shutdowns to meltdowns. You want to shut down a lot more than you melt down. It means you're being put into high leverage situations and you're adding win probability for your team, which means you're valuable. That all makes sense, correct? Yeah, I'm sure it does. Okay, so let's get into my top ranked guys. And by the way, this list right here is the order in which they're weighted. So leverage index is the most important, clutch is the second most, win probability added and shutdowns is the least. But they're all pretty close. There's nothing super highly weighted. It all comes out pretty good. But the most important thing is leverage index for me, and that's also used in free agency discussions and arbitration and stuff. This is the equation if you were wondering. Here is 11 through 20 on that list and all of their ratings. So you're going to notice something. They're not all closers, right? Because some closers were never put in leverage because they always had a 3-run lead or whatever. Like if a closer goes out and he has a 3-run lead every time and just like throws a 0 or whatever, he's not going to get a bunch of these good stats because you're just not going to be able to tell. There wasn't enough adversity to tell. But if you're a guy who's put in the leverage every single time and you always get the job done, you're going to have a crazy high score. So here is the 11 through 20. We got Carlos Estevez, Camilo Doval at 19, Andrew Kittredge at 18, Jeff Hoffman at 17, Pete Fairbanks at 16, David Robinson at 15, Luke Weaver at 14, Hector Neris at 13, 12, Yohan Duran, and Ryan Walker comes in at 11. With a 155.2 reliever plus. One interesting one, I think that might pique a lot of your guys, you're like, well, really? Is Hector Neris, right? Hector Neris had like a 4.1 ERA last year. He struggled a little bit in the middle of the year. But the thing is, Hector's really bad outings, there was like 2 of them. They were really bad, but they were in the same game. So you can only basically, reliever plus is a consistency score. Yeah, you might blow up big time a couple times a year, but you're good the other 38 times. You're going to have a good reliever plus score, even if your overall statistics are not looking great because those blowups were that bad. Like you give up 7 runs in an inning or something, so you have a 4 all year no matter what. But all of the other outings are good. That is what Hector Neris did. He did a really good job. He went on a streak for a while there where he got like a 9 or 10 holds in a row or something. So like he was hyper consistent. He was the same guy every time. But when he did lose it and the game got out of hand, it got out of hand big time. And that's why he seems like a little bit of an outlier on this list. But let's get in the top 10. I'll show you guys. It might surprise you. At 10, we have Ben Joyce coming in at a 156.1 reliever plus. Ben Joyce is probably going to close or probably going to set up for Kenley Jensen this year, but he did a good job. You may have heard of him. This guy can throw 105 miles an hour, which is pretty good if you ask me. He came in with a leverage index of 1.51, which is in the top 30, I believe. Clutch is at 0.89. That's in the top 20. WPA, he added 2.5 wins, and he had 27 shutdowns and 6 meltdowns, which is a great ratio. 5-1, rule of thumb, pretty good. That's Ben Joyce in the 10 spot. In the 9 spot, we got Raisel Iglesias. Now, he's interesting. Higher leverage index. He was in leverage more often. He threw multiple innings a lot. You'll see this from closers with higher leverage indexes. It means they're not getting a clean inning every time. He would come in the 8th sometimes, getting more than 3 outs, 5, 6 out. I don't know if he had a 6-out save, but he'd get 4 or 5 out saves a lot. In clutch, though, he didn't like come into a lot of games with the bases loaded with no outs and get out of it. But he did add a lot of WPA, 4 wins. He did a good job. He also threw like 9th inning, come back out for the 10th. That type of stuff is going to get you WPA and 27-6 shutdown and meltdown for a nice little crisp 161.7 reliever plus out of Raisel Iglesias. In 8, we had Tanner Scott, new Dodger. You're going to see a lot of guys on the Dodgers in this list. Leverage index even better than the other 2. Clutch, again, he was closing a lot. When he was in the Marlins, he was just going out in the 9th inning and doing that. The clutch stat doesn't help closers as much. It's more for firemen guys who come in the 6th inning and there's a guy on 1st and 2nd with 1 out. Like that's going to get you more clutch, right? WPA of 3.17, shutdown and meltdown 34-9, and he had a 161.9 reliever plus. At 7, and I apologize, there are no pictures behind these anymore because I ran out of time. Devin Williams, gone from the Brewers. You know who isn't gone? Trevor McGill, the number 7 in reliever plus. He filled in really, really well for Devin when Devin was hurt last year. WPA of 288, clutch of 073 and 198 leverage index. Shutdowns, meltdowns, 27-4. That's a really good ratio. Really good ratio. Good for a 163.9 reliever plus. Number 6, the Bazooka, Mason Miller, Sacramento A's. Leverage index 188, clutch 048, WPA 3.48, and shutdowns and meltdowns 30-5. Good for a 163.9, coming in at our 6th spot. At 5, say what you want about the man. He's coming up on 500 saves. He goes by the name Kenley Jensen. Leverage index of a 2 flat. That's the best one so far. Clutch 0.29. That's pretty solid as well. WPA of 3 flat. That's pretty good. And 32 shutdowns, 7 meltdowns. The guy is a consummate professional. He's been around for a long time, and he does the job. Whether or not it's flashy anymore, that's up to you to decide. But one thing is for sure, Reliever Plus likes my boy Kenley. Now, top 4, Kirby Yates, another new Dodger in the top 10. We got 2 in the top 10. Look at that, 187 leverage index, solid. Clutch 0.2 means he got the job done. 39-5 shutdowns and meltdowns, and almost 4.5 WPA. 4.5 WPA. That's a lot of wins, boys and girls. For a 173.1 reliever plus, Kirby Yates is your number 4. Another Dodger. So we got Tanner Scott, Kirby Yates on the Dodgers. Coming in 3, Ryan Helsley, 2.16 leverage index, highest so far. Clutch 0.36, 4.11 WPA, and 35-5 shutdown to meltdown ratio for an 180.5. We'll see where he goes. He could be very valuable for a contending team in July. That's for sure. The fact that he's still there is pretty crazy to me, but he's gonna help somebody out big time. All right, for the final 2, who do we think takes the 2 spot and the 1 spot? At 2, well, that's Devin Williams, new New York Yankee and murderer of the facial hair rule. Leverage index 273, the highest there is. I think he's number 1, actually. Clutch, not so clutch, 0.016, but again, he inherited no runners this year either. Him and Emmanuel Clase. WPA 2.09 again. And he 14-1 shutdowns and meltdowns. He also missed a lot of time, but in that, because the minimum amount of innings you needed for this was 20, so he qualifies. He didn't have the biggest workload, but he has 180.9 reliever plus. And in the number 1 spot is Emmanuel Clase, who I just mentioned. Number 1 overall, 187.9 reliever plus. Look at that WPA. Are you kidding? Look at those wins he added. Over 6 with his whatever he had, a 0.6 ERA, and a 44-4 ratio of shutdowns and meltdowns. Pretty dang good. So, the stat passes the eye test. What do you guys think? Do you think anyone was left out? Do you think that Reliever Plus is a stupid stat and then I should just give up? I'm going to keep working on it. My goal is to get a stat, call it Trevi stat on Fangraphs. Wouldn't that be cool?